Welcome to another one of our videos. This one was requested by one of our viewers, and it's going to feature the trailer that we use on the back of our coaster. We got this fairly early on after we bought the coaster, and it's a 1980 custom made 6x6 trailer. It's got big wide opening barn doors, which is very useful for moving gear in and out. Now the gear we carry in it really depends on what sort of trip we're doing. If we're doing a fairly simple trip and we don't want the bikes, we just tend to put table, chairs, porta potty and a few other bits and pieces inside. Now there's some fixtures and fittings that have been put onto the trailer, a few before we bought it and the majority since we've owned it. As you can see in here, we carry a fair few bits and pieces. We've got a rolled up hose there for transferring water. There's the porta potty, there's a couple of tables. You can see one of the Lightner bikes there. Occasionally we take both Lightner bikes. And you can see on the other side power cords and all sorts of other bits and pieces, including tools, a trolley. We've got a power system built into the trailer now. The little switch there operates a rear vision camera. We have a little fuse box, a readout for the battery, cigarette lighter attachment, and there was a lighting system already built into it when we bought it. Extremely useful at night, and we use the trailer as an outdoor dunny, so very useful when we have to go out at night. Rolled up hose there. Very good hose, that particular one. We've had a few different hoses that you can roll up. Now the power system, we've got 120 amp hour Bosch deep cycle battery, AGM, some solar panels on top. We've got two fixed solar panels, and we sometimes put our 130 watt up there. We have a washing machine, as you can see there, and we've got a couple of cables going through to the front. Now the first one is a 12 volt cable that runs through to the two Bosch batteries in the coaster, and the other cable is 240 volt, and that's used when the generator's on. The generator isn't used that often, but if we get a particularly hot day and we want some air conditioning, we've got a 3 kVA Honda. Exceptionally good generators from Honda. A little adapter there so that we can vent the exhaust to the outside. It doesn't get rid of 100% of the exhaust, but we are going to put in another vent as well to help with the ventilation. On the top shelf there, you can see shade cloth for flooring. There's also a dome screen tent. There's our pump in a box. You can see a separate video about that one. The little trolley we use for moving water containers and for moving the porta potty and all sorts of other bits and pieces there. There's a power cable if we ever hook up to mains power, a number of different containers, a number of different wire racks for holding all sorts of bits and pieces, a spare 9 kilo gas bottle that's strapped in, water container, air compressor, and various bits and pieces. Another small gas bottle for the barbecue. The barbecue lives in the back of the coaster. And the big black thing you can see there is the satellite dish. We do have a satellite system in the coaster, but we almost never use it. Got a broom sitting on the roof there, and just behind that you can see a work light with a flexible head. That's very useful if you want to get under somewhere and get a bit of light into something. 2-pound hammer there for banging in tent pegs into hard ground. Dunny roll holder, because we use the trailer as an outdoor dunny. Wheel brace, a hatchet, so things we might need in a hurry hung up in places where we can find them easily. We've put a couple of fasteners on the doors to stop the wind from blowing the doors around when we want to keep them open. I built a little shelf into one of the back doors. Can be quite useful when we're set up for a while and we need somewhere to either put tools or we put food and bits and pieces in there when the trailer is staying still. Spare fuel container in there for the generator, a toolbox, and we also carry a good set of tools. We've got a small solar panel there for recharging the coaster batteries, 24 volt panel, some drainage buckets if we're in self-contained overnight rest stops, and other tools and bits and pieces. If we're taking our Lightner electric bikes with us, they're pretty easy to put in. Both bikes will easily fit in the back. We use the big table you can see in the back there to separate the two to stop them knocking together and damaging each other. But as you can see here, it only takes a couple of minutes at most to fold the bike up and put it in the back of the trailer. Never had a problem with putting those in there. If we're doing a different sort of trip, we can have all sorts of different things. We can carry fishing gear, boating gear, and as you see in a minute, we've got a boat rack on top. You can see part of it in this clip here. So the bikes are pretty easy to transport around thanks to this trailer. And just a little demo of bringing the bike out and setting it up. It's really no trouble at all. The Lightner bikes are well designed. We've had them for, I think, probably 3 years by now. I'd have to look it up and make sure, but they've been brilliant little bikes. They've done everything we've wanted. We put a couple of big carrier baskets on the back so that we can cart our camera gear around easily. We don't take them on every trip. We have a coupling lock so that when we leave the trailer in a campsite, it's still there when we get back. We have a sort of a clothesline in the back, and unfortunately it's a bit of a cheapie and some of the clips are breaking. I've had to repair that already. Now on top we've got a boat rack. You can see a roller bar here. There's some tie down points. There's 4 of those on top, and it's based on a Rhino rack system. Now I do have a winch that clips onto the front of the vehicle to these points here, and you can run the cable across the roller and help to bring it up from the back. And there's a couple of tie down points, one on each side there. Unfortunately early on we had a wheel collapse on the trailer, so we redid all the running gear, and since then it's been, touch wood, fairly trouble free. Even though it's a 1980 trailer and it's pretty old, it does the job we want, and we've got a bit of space on the front for carrying fuel and water. So all in all, a really good little trailer.